honeys, it's Yolz and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. Hubby and I are doing the almost second last segment of this love series.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We're here again.
Are you ready?
Of course, always.
This one,
here, couch. Let's do it.
This one is more something I feel definitely uncomfortable and inadequate to answer.
Inadequate.
I still struggle with this
When I
thing.
want.
Hey, I struggle with
Yolz.
forgiveness. I struggle with moving past mistakes. And someone was kind enough in the comment section, 2 people actually asked about this. How do you move past mistakes? How do you just forgive your partner? So we're going to get straight into that. But before we do that, you know what to do. Give this video a massive thumbs up and definitely comment down below if you are an easy forgiver. Something my husband is definitely gifted in. I'm still working on and praying on that gift. But if you have already commented and you've liked, also please do subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get straight into this.
Hey there, it's Yolz channel.
So something I definitely struggle with and I want your opinion on, babe, is forgiveness. I know we're not perfect. I know we make mistakes, but how do you just so easily forgive?
Forgive, man. For me, I guess it's just I take it really from biblical standpoint, and that for me as well. It's not as if it's also just come easy, but it's just to say that hey, if the word says that we need to forgive to a point whereas we don't even know how many times that we need to forgive, so that's just always just been what it is. Yes, I do need to realize what's happened, acknowledge it, know how it's made me feel. For me, I need to also obviously acknowledge that this is how this has made me feel. And I need to let you know how that's made me feel. And also in that, then I can move on. Because I mean, I'm going to bottle it up until when?
That's kind of my strategy. I mean, it hasn't worked over the years, but that's been my strategy.
Yeah, it's not always easy, but I mean, I just think that with time, it's just come easier. And obviously, knowing Guti being in a relationship, having made a commitment before God, between the two of us, it's one of those things that, hey, if Lord forbid one steps out from the commitment that we've made,
covenant
of that covenant, is now to say, well, God, where do you see us? Because the covenant is first with God before it is with us. So if we
conviction,
we're taking it to that step, that's honestly my overarching feeling and more realization into it.
I always approach things differently, particularly when it comes to like making a mistake. Like the worst part is it's regardless of the type of mistake. Even if it's a small mistake, I still need time to process. I need to realize, Uguti, like, what have you done? How has it made me feel? Give me some time to process. And sometimes that backfires in my face because I don't address it after processing for 2 days, you know, processing for a week or something like that, or it blows up to something more than it actually really is. And I think that's my downfall. I don't want to call it a downfall. I think it's my con, rather, you know, something that I definitely need to work on, a development area, a point of weakness that, I struggle with, like seeing past what you could have done in that moment. And I also struggle to look past how you dismissed how this would make me feel when you're doing it. Because it's like, okay, I'm now just expected to forgive. Did you not think of this when you were doing it? How did you foresee this landing?
Yeah, no, for sure. The other thing though, I'd also just put out there is the fact that in most cases, we really out to want to fix the other person in terms of wanting someone else to behave more like us. And for me, it's not really to say that, hey, you need to forgive as quick as I forgive, but more to say that, Lord, help me understand and see how He sees things than it is for you to change me. So it's, if that really makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not really to say that, listen, hey, pressure's on. If I'm able to forgive you same day, you should also build a bridge and just get over it. But it's to say that with your emotions, dealing with your emotions, because I mean, you need to put yourself first with that. But then again, it's within the relationship. How else are we communicating? Because I mean, we've also always had that aspect of saying, hey, let's not actually go to bed
without
upset
hashing
at each
things
other.
out. Yeah.
Whatever's happened, as hard as it might have been, because it's not always easy as well, because the degree of, well, severity
of whatever's happened. Yeah.
whatever's happened may not actually grant you to say, okay, I'm gonna deal with it right now, or it's just happened just before we've gone to bed.
Yeah, those are the worst. How do I even sleep? I don't even sleep most of those nights, even if it's my fault. How am I going to sleep? How am I going to move past this? And it's so hard. But I hear you. I think that's one of the biggest things that has helped me when you have made a mistake and I've had to deal with it with the Lord and forgiven you. And when we are talking about it, one of the first things you always say is, I hear you. And that usually helps a lot. Even though I said I forgive you, in this time, it was still processing.
Yeah.
When you able to say, I hear you, it's as if you're opening this portal for me to now, or an outlet for me to express how I fully feel and how that's made me feel and how obviously I don't want it to happen again. And you also opening a platform for me to say, okay, well, now I'm open to hearing where you were coming from. Let me hear you. Since you hear me, let me hear you.
No, most definitely. Because the thing is, at that very moment, it obviously quite heated. And it's not always easy to be thinking for someone else.
Oh, of course not. Not when you've done me in, you know.
All about you.
Yeah, in Afrikaans, jy doen my in. How do you expect me with my warmbors right now to think of you?
No, for sure. So it's within those times. Because the thing is, again, more than anything, it's our words. Being mindful in terms of our word choice. Because more than anything, that's something that you cannot take back.
Yeah.
And in most conversations or most disagreements, I understand that, well, okay, maybe if I had just taken a breather, bring myself towards myself, that could have been handled differently. But again, the communication aspect also comes through in saying, how are we addressing things? How do I want to make you feel at that moment? Am I trying to hurt you in how I'm responding? And with that, what was the point at the end of the argument?
Yeah, I think something that I read was, if you are in an argument, especially conflict, now we're talking about forgiveness in a conflict situation where you've put your partner down and won, you've actually lost. Because is it really an argument if it brings you down? It just means that it was an attack. One person was defending themselves, one person was attacking. And if the attacker has won, truly, truly they've lost, because the person who was trying to defend themselves is one with the attacker. So how have you actually won the argument? You know, and it's always, I'm glad we've grown past that, where it's now more about the situation. It's not me against you. It's not you are defending yourself from me attacking you. It's, this is the problem. The problem is outside of our oneness.
Yes.
How do we approach the problem? We're fighting now, it's heated now, but whoa, pause. And we're not perfect. So there's times where we're already in the fight and it's like, wait, actually, no, time out. What we're arguing about now is, we've even past that. Now someone's deflected, somebody has digressed, somebody has called someone else's mom and brought them into this conversation. How? Let's just time out for a minute and actually relook at things. The problem is, how do we get Fez to school? Because I'm not around next week. and you have got a busy schedule.
Yeah.
Why are we arguing about everything else outside of the problem? The problem is transportation and availability.
How do we work that out?
Yeah, how do we work around that, you know? So it's something that we've had to definitely navigate and find a solution, but also that for me, that's when it's easier to forgive. I won't lie. It's easier to forgive you because I'm like, oh yeah, we're partners, and you're saying, let me partner with you in resolving this.
Yeah.
It's more when it's outside of the argument where we've torn each other down. That's hard to forgive. Where you've called me names and things, and also brought things you've been thinking about, but you were not brave enough to say it.
Call your names.
Not you. No, not you've never done that. Thank you for never doing that. But I'm just
Let's
saying,
straighten that out.
No, he's
talking
never.
about that.
He's never done that before. But in a case where it's tougher, you know, where you've now called each other names, pulled each other's hair out, literally, and it's become physical. The words too have become so physical to a point where they've torn you apart. That's the hard part. How do we move on from that? How does a couple that doesn't argue like maybe we do, or we're going to say most people, we don't know how most people argue, but if somebody hasn't even resolved the on-surface things, and all of a sudden we're arguing about XYZ and find ourselves literally breaking our house down from an argument, how do we move past that?
Well, in that case, if the communication between the two of you is not working,
It's unhealthy.
yeah. So that's when now you really need to consider looking for outside help.
If you want to stay together?
Yeah. Because the thing is now, if we are unable to communicate, unable to resolve, and we're just packing things are not resolved, and it's just adding up, and the next time we have a fight, we're bringing on everything else from the past. So at that point, it's okay to actually realize, okay, we actually need help.
There's a bigger problem here.
Yeah. From understanding the conflicts, where are they stemming from? It's actually okay to know that we both need help, and knowing that we need assistance in dealing with our past, in dealing with our own individual past, and saying, okay, what is it that I'm bringing from my past,
My background
into this, and how else have I seen conflict being resolved,
upbringing,
and then now how am I now bringing, or what elements of that could I also be bringing into our relationship? So then it's in those scales, and now you're like, okay, maybe we do need help together. We also need help individually.
Call the family, call the uncles, family meeting. If you want, you can also get professional help, which is obviously probably a good route as well, but don't go to friends. I would not advise going to friends for advice when it comes to conflict management, because today is sunny, I feel good, so I'm gonna tell you, no girl, it's okay, go back, forgive your man, it's all good. Tomorrow I'm feeling your man and I want you all to break up, so tomorrow it's dump him, no, get rid of that man, he does not care about you, you know. Also, when you are bringing in other people, third parties, ask yourself, are they actually neutral?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to conflict resolution in a marriage, when it comes to even bigger things, we are still talking about the surface stuff like arguing and fights, but there are even deeper things. I do think you should not involve your immediate family, including like your mother-in-law or your father-in-law, because there will be a bias there.
Yeah, as much as you want to think that it won't be the case, they definitely will be, because I mean now you're speaking about your family.
Yeah, my child. My child will never
blood.
do that. Yeah.
You know, so yeah, if it's from a standpoint where you are able to speak to your pastor, your elders at the church, you guys need to both be willing to actually work at it. Are we both willing to resolve this? Or are we constantly fighting because
one of us is trying to get
tired?
out? Or we're both tired from this relationship. And I also think that's really important, especially if you're not married, where I would advise straight up, if you can and sense, you can know, because you can, your intuition is there, your gut. You can tell Uguti every time we fight, it just feels like this one is ready to go. The bags are packed already. Maybe you should walk away from that. Anyone who's willing to walk away from you in a time of distress or conflict is certainly willing to walk away from you in a time where you need them the most too. So we're not going to sit here and also say nyamezela, especially when you are not married. And if you are married and dealing with things that are even more extreme, like cheating, and things that sort of warrant divorce, I'd say, forgiveness is hard. Like I'm probably not the right person to actually advise on this, because damn, I don't know what I would do. Like literally, the Lord knows my heart. I have no idea if I were to be confronted with a situation where you cheating on me. I know I wouldn't easily forgive. That's for sure. But I also don't know if I wouldn't walk away. And I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah.
You know, so in that case, I would definitely call for help from external advisors, counselors, therapy, all kinds of things. But I'd also would want to know first, like, do you actually want to be here?
Yeah. Well, on my side, I'd actually go back again. Your marriage between yourself, your wife, husband, and God.
Yeah.
Are you actually bringing that to God?
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying.
Communicating to God, that line to say,
he's the first. He's like,
this is where we're at.
Yeah, what now?
What now?
Yeah.
So it's that point of contact, and then now saying, okay,
external. Yes. No, of course.
We need the help.
Yeah.
I need to get over the hurt.
Yeah.
I need to speak to someone else about the hurt.
And you.
And how then do I actually want us to sit together and speak about this? Or do I actually want it to be just me? Can I actually just voice how I am currently feeling up to a point where I am actually willing for you to hear now how I'm feeling, and for me to be able to tell you how I feel. And are we able to even move past this, move past this? And if that's the case, what are we gonna both be doing?
Damn, there needs to be a whole therapist that is dedicated to just forgiveness, because that would be hard. I know personally for me that would knock me over. But at the same time, I think it's also really important for the perpetrator or the person who's done whatever they've done, the mistake, to really make up their mind, or actually articulate what is on their mind. Because what if they did it as a form of rebellion, or they did it as a form of experimenting, or as a form of actually saying, I want out? Yeah. That too needs to be addressed. We cannot ignore the fact that maybe you've gone outside of the house to look for other things, that you have, your bags have been packed, you were ready to go. This was just, the last straw. But we also can't ignore the fact that it is so important to have counseling before you get married as a couple too, so that you understand that these are the realities that can happen in marriage. Conflict will happen. And I think for us, we've also found it easier to navigate through life as a married couple, a lot more easier, because we spent months in counseling before we made that commitment. Like, do you want this? And you remember our pastor asked, you still want to get married to this guy?
After all of that?
After all of this?
Knowing all of these? No, for sure. Yeah,
so let's not get into something we have no idea about. I'm not an advocate for, you chose this, so live with it. If you went in there green-eared in a sense, like you had no idea. But I'm for you going into it with having checked the red and the green flags and asking the right questions, because you don't want to find yourself with your life partner tearing you down in front of your children and making a mockery of who you are and whatever you both have built in front of people. And before your own eyes, because there's other people, but am I witnessing this? You know, and I'm supposed to forgive this man? I know the word says forgive. I know. But in reality, it is hard. You know, and I want to forgive you. But Lord, how is it that you gave me this man? And then God's like, did I?
Whose choice?
You know, so it's a hard one to navigate. But I'd say when it comes to forgiveness, it does start with God. I absolutely agree. But I think we need to also take the onus of trying to avoid as much blind spots as possible going into marriage, going into relationships. So there are things that won't change. So there are conflicts that won't change if those things don't change. Or am I going to enter this relationship knowing that? Am I going to enter marriage with this person knowing that? Yes or no? And if I'm not willing to, why am I saying yes when they go down on their knees? Just because it's romantic now. You know?
What's the reality?
Because
the thing is, again, it goes back to what vision do we have for our relationship? What vision do we have for our marriage? Do we see an alignment in that? If there isn't, are there certain things that we are saying that we think that we might change in that? You know, not going into hoping that things are just going to change and there's certain things that you're going to change about your partner.
I think the question we all have to ask ourselves realistically with God being present is, am I willing to forgive this person over and over and over and over? Because in marriage, you have to do that almost daily. The dishes are not washed, Yolz, it's your day to wash, you know. You left this and that where you're not supposed to leave it. Can you not put things in the right place? It's a daily forgiveness thing. And if you cannot answer that question, one. Secondly, if the answer is a flat no, don't waste your time entering into a lifetime commitment with somebody that you know for sure you cannot forgive. And if you cannot recognize the person who you're arguing with, who 5 minutes ago you said I love you to, don't go into it.
So I think first and foremost, let us be real and be ourselves in the relationship
from the get-go,
so that we're not wasting each other's time, because the whole purpose of dating is to date to see if you can marry this person. Let us not be dating for so many years. But then what's the point?
You know? On that note, let us know down in the comment section your thoughts on this topic. It's a hard one, and it's one, like I say, where I think you are between your crossroads really every time. Do I choose to forgive you? And if I say yes, am I moving on? Or am I moving past that, seeing past that, and living with you? You know, what are you willing to live with? Let me know in the comment section. Let us know. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I love you guys so much, and I hope you enjoyed this week's episode.